All right, we are back at Games Point Blank. I'm the Don, and today we're going to talk about Naughty Dog's statement they made on Twitter regarding the Last of Us factions. We're here with Crowd Pleasa and Desert Eagle, and we're going to talk about the games point blank. Jason Schreier was investigating the situation and heard the rumors, reached out to Naughty Dog for comment, and they put out this statement. The Last of Us fans, we know many of you have been looking forward to hearing more about our The Last of Us multiplayer game. We're incredibly proud of the job our studio has done thus far, but as development has continued, we've realized what is best for the game is to give it more time. Our team will continue to work on the project as well as our other games in development, including a brand new single-player experience. We look forward to sharing more soon. We're grateful to our fantastic community for your support. Thank you for your passion for our games. It continues to drive us. So this statement was put out when rumors started to circulate about Bungie going to Naughty Dog to review the Last of Us Factions game and saying it ain't up to snuff. Following the statement, he put out the article explaining the details of what happened to the game. What do you guys think about this whole situation?
All right, well, apparently they were making trash. Sony said, Bungie, we got a problem. We need you to solve it. Take a look at this. Bungie said, this sucked. It's no good. Go back to the drawing board.
Oh, man. It's difficult. It's a difficult situation when you have the pedigree of a studio like Naughty Dog making nothing but back-to-back classics, whether it's the Uncharted series or the Last of Us series. They know how to make a good single-player experience. And yes, Uncharted had multiplayer tacked on. Last of Us Part 1 had multiplayer tacked on. And those who loved these games really enjoyed the multiplayer. I personally never enjoyed those multiplayer games, not because of any specific reason other than I had better multiplayer games to play during those times.
I mean, let's be honest. Naughty Dog makes great single-player experiences by telling great single-player stories. Gameplay has never been their strong suit. I don't care what anybody says. Uncharted is a fun roller coaster ride, but you ain't playing Uncharted because of the awesome cover mechanics and the third-person shooting. That is not true. You're not playing Last of Us for the cover and the stealth. You're playing it for the story. Their games have never been good enough to carry a multiplayer experience, which is 100% depended on gameplay. They didn't have the chops to make a service game, period.
I think that was a very aggressive take, Nadine. You do not like the Last of Us series, which is the last two games they made. It's very clear. But to say that the gameplay is trash in these games, and that's why they couldn't make this work is a catastrophe. It's blasphemy at its finest. Naughty Dog knows how to make games. They excel in story-driven games, yes. But Uncharted was an amazing time. Yes, it had great writing. Yes, the story pacing was great. But I enjoyed playing the game. I enjoyed the mechanics of that game. Simple mechanics, yes. But it was an action game that actually felt great to play. You can't say that about a lot of games, right? That they don't feel good or the story is good. And those games felt great. The Last of Us 2 felt great and the story was great. So I wholeheartedly disagree with you.
When Uncharted was new, the first three games, and those were being released, what was their competition? What games could you play from Xbox that were of similar caliber? Gears of War. You're gonna tell me Gears of War's gameplay is not significantly better than Uncharted?
Direct comparison, Uncharted versus Gears. Gears is a co-op based game. That game is meant to be played and enjoyed in a co-op environment.
Gears of War is a third-person cover-based shooter. Uncharted is a third-person cover-based shooter. Which one would you rather play? I'm not talking about the story. I'm talking about gameplay.
It's not that hard. Gameplay, control mechanics, the feeling.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, let me say something, because we're getting off track. We're not talking about Naughty Dog as a single-player game developer. We're talking about their multiplayer game that they've been working on for what we think is a few years. Apparently, it's been no good. Why? Like Pleasa said, their earlier multiplayer games that they tacked on Uncharted and Last of Us, those were no good. Mediocre at best. Nobody talks about playing those unless that's all they got. There's way better multiplayer games, especially from Bungie. That's why Sony brought them in to take a look, see if it's up to snuff. Bungie said, no, it's not up to snuff. This is just as more the same that y'all made before, which is cool. But if y'all want long-term player engagement, like we've been holding it down for 9 years, if y'all want that, this ain't it.
A great point that you made, Desert Eagle, when you said this was a great multiplayer for those who had nothing else. I thought that was an amazing statement. I thought that it actually did a great service to when the Uncharted series was coming out, let's say PS3 era, right? And you had PS3, which had multiplayer games in the Sony ecosystem that at that time weren't as good as, let's say, the Halo 3s of the world. Because of that, Sony had its own little niche of multiplayer tacked on games, and Uncharted was one of them. Last of Us towards the end of the life cycle was another one. I wholeheartedly agree with you when I say it didn't grip me in, and that's exactly what Bungie said. It's not going to keep people engaged. These multiplayer games didn't keep me engaged at the time. So if it's more of that, evolved, sure. Evolved mechanics, evolved gameplay, evolved graphics, but it didn't keep me engaged. I played it and I was like, this is cute. I can't keep playing this game for years, let alone months. And I think Bungie went in and they saw that and they were like, nah, guys, we just been selling Destiny for 12 years now. Y'all not gonna pedal this for 3 months without people leaving.
A few months ago, we were actually talking about this Last of Us multiplayer game. And when Neil Druckmann was talking about, it wasn't just going to be pure multiplayer, it was going to be story involved. Now, all of a sudden, they're talking about delaying the multiplayer game, but not to worry because they're also working on a new single player experience. So what is it? Are they separating the story mode from this multiplayer game? I assumed that it was going to be story like Destiny with the whole game's multiplayer, but there's also story. So now do you think that they're making just a single player campaign separately and probably trying to rush something out because of this delay? Or is the multiplayer game that they're working on still going to have a story in it?
That was my initial assumption, Desert Eagle, when I heard the news of the story, when they were talking about a new single player experience. I thought that maybe they said, hey, this can't survive on its own, so we need to kind of add or tack on some single player greatness that we're known to, maybe some PvE element as quick as they could, add some PvE elements or some cutscenes rendered and then call it a day. We know they know how to story tell, so it's not a problem. And maybe they feel like it'll do better if you have some kind of story tacked on to add to the value of this game. Maybe it's not free, maybe it's 70 cash and they say it's single player and multiplayer. Although with that said, do you guys believe that when this eventually comes out, is it going to be free or is it going to be paid?
I think they're going to tack this on to The Last of Us Part 2 remastered for PS5. And this new experience is them moving on from Last of Us. Because if it was something like Last of Us Part 3 or another thing in the Last of Us universe, they would have said it. They wouldn't have said a new single player experience.
I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. I'm not sure if it's going to be a new IP or if it's new in terms of it's not part 1 or it's not part 2. But what I was really thinking was it might be some type of maybe like a 2.5, a side story that they're making a quick game out of. And the multiplayer game might just be pure PvP instead of with story elements. Maybe that's what they changed. I'm not sure.
I think whatever they started to shift all of their personnel towards, this new single player experience, whatever that's going to be, it's nowhere near anything. I think they probably just got it out of the concept stage or, the preliminary stage, and they're just starting to put in real work into it. Either way, I don't anticipate this game coming prior to 2026, you know, whatever it is. And that's only 3 years from now. That's even a stretch. So I don't anticipate this coming anytime soon. Like you said, I think they have been working on The Last of Us 2 remake, and that's probably going to come out well before this ever sees the light of day. But it is Naughty Dog. I can't even lie to you if I'm going to tell you that I'm not hyped for this in the next few years when we're playing the PS5 Pro. We have true 4K 60 frames.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm excited for, and that's your comments below. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and until next time, it's game on.
If you liked our content, mash that like button, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more content, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.